All right, let's talk about the actual final.
Let's do this.
Starting from the left, what I want to collect from each one of you on Tuesday. Your drop folder in your root folder, which means you're going to create a folder with your name, and you can do a little subtext and call it like, you know, Marco Final or something like that. I don't care what you call it after it. I just need your name. Is going to have 3 files in it. They're going to be PDFs, and they're just going to be a render, an axonometric section render that has a raster background and a vector overlay. Then in that folder, there will also be a subfolder that's going to have each of your Grasshopper and Rhino files, your Illustrator or CAD files, and any other source files that you used to generate that render. Are there any questions about just the deliverables right now? We'll talk about what needs to go on the renders in a second.
What do you mean by source file?
Like if you used an image background or something like that, or if you're using a different software package for some reason, like if you did Maxwell, you know, or if you ran it through 3D Max or something like that. I don't think any of you are going to be doing that, but just in case. I just need to see how you did it, basically, whatever it is. Okay, any other questions on that stuff? So 3 renders. I need all of your source files. All right, so now the rules. The rules all pertain to the actual result itself, which is this. Now this has like diagrammatic overlay stuff. You don't need that. You don't need this little dash line that's going through it or the sun line. But you do need to follow all of the rest of the rules of clarity that we've discussed. So that means you need your raster underlay, which was mentioned on the left-hand side, and that's going to have some material applied to it, so I should see that these look kind of metal or gray. The concrete should have like a concrete-ish texture. If you have glazing, it should be translucent. And when I showed you how to just do all of those using basic Rhino materials earlier in the semester, you don't need anything fancy if you know, and that's at a minimum for this class. My suggestion is if you really know how to render, I'd say render it well, because this stuff is going to wind up in your portfolio at some point, and it should look good. You're not going to want to go back and do it later. So I'm going to need 3 of these. As far as rules are concerned and what you have to create, right? Your model right now is pretty simple. It just looks kind of like a, you know, it's just a subdivided surface on the front of the building. So you have to create the facade. You're going to have to create it using pipe-based horizontal louver systems. Okay, and I'm going to draw a quick diagram on the board for what that could mean. It's up to you if they are rounded like this, or if your building is panelized, you can actually have your pipe louvers be panelized as well. That part is a design decision. It's up to you. Okay? They will all have to be supported in some way, so I'll want to see some kind of an armature that sticks out to grab it, whether it's on the ends or intermittently between. It doesn't have to be totally physically possible. I just need to see some kind of support for it so that you don't have a pipe that sticks all the way out the end that isn't attached to anything. Okay? So that's item 1. Item 2 is perforated panels on 30% of the facade that is going to have a dynamic pattern. So when I say 30% of the facade, that means that the perforated panels, the actual panel part of it, covers 30% of the facade. So remember we did that testing exercise where you can measure exactly how much of that overall area it's covering? I'm going to want to see that. I'm going to look at your models. I'm going to look at your Grasshopper definitions to ensure that you have that mechanism in there. Okay? So that will have to be a dynamic pattern. I'm okay with in one iteration if you just have like a straight pattern, and then in the other one you have like a dynamic pattern with different scales and stuff like that. I'm okay with that. You'll need to do those two things on 3 separate mass volumes. And you'll have to do them in 3 unique ways. So it doesn't have to be, I mean, you won't have to change much. I'll say that much. Like if you build it in such a way that you can just kind of change a randomizer that's going to kind of move the panels around, you can do that. Or if you have them, if you have your perforated panels at the bottom 2 levels only, then you can move them up to the middle or the top or something like that and measure what the difference is. Okay? So they need to be unique. So not only do you need to change the elements that are on the facade, you won't be able to change the pipe-based horizontal louver system. That's going to be the same no matter what. But you will have to change the perforated panels, and you will have to change the volume of the building itself. Okay? So you're going to have to go through the process of configuring your panels or louvers, and I'll talk about the louvers in a second. Panels or louvers, you'll have to reconfigure them on the facade. You'll have to change the volume of the building, and then you'll have to bake it all out and render it, and then overlay it with a vector. That process will have to be done 3 times. Okay? So now for some customization and fun. You can opt for kind of like a dense variable louver system over the perforated panels as well. If you just wanted to get a degree of variability in there, for say maybe, you know, if you want more variability in your portfolio or something like that, then I would urge you to do that now. I'd say if you're going to go with the pipe-based horizontal louver system and the perforated panel systems and then just change the location on the facade, that's a minimum. Okay? And if you don't go any further than that, it's not going to hurt your grade. But I'm saying for you guys who are developing portfolios right now, it's in your best interest to explore 3 separate systems if you can. So I'm open on the perforated panels part. I'm open to, you know, some changes. Just let me know what you're thinking of doing, and you know, you're more than welcome to incorporate that. Okay. So what questions do you have? It's not a lot. It's already half done. All you have to do now is just go back to some of the videos and just pull some things up. So let me real quickly just kind of go through the videos on the playlist, and you can see how easy it's going to be, really. So here's the playlist for the class. You're going to want, you can pretty much jump ahead for a bunch of them. So this whole series right here, these Rhino Illustrator ones for the facade axonometric, you'll want to obviously review those again and make sure that you're following along. Unless you know how to do it by now, that's good. You're gonna want to go back through the dynamic pattern ones. So those would be under Intro to Patterns and Perforations. And if you want to do the louver system, you can do these ones right here, the shading assembly ones. So dynamic patterning is on there, shade structure stuff, move vector, arrayed louvers, and there are a few more actually, these ones right here. So these all go through, remember that louver system we did where there was like 20 or so in a panel and they kind of went up and down? So you can make them go up and down throughout the entire facade if you want. And then the signal box building, I'm okay if you want to use that one too. I'm okay with that. You could even do this one if you wanted, the quad facade. You could do some, you can do a variation of it. So I'll put it this way. At no point do I want you to just copy exactly the same definition from before and apply it to this facade. I want you to explore it a little bit. Try and do something a little different. Okay, so if you're going to go outside of what I've just told you, which is just different enough, then let me know what you're going to do and how you're going to do it slightly differently by Sunday. I mean, you're going to want to probably email me earlier than that, but let me know. Okay, I'm open to it. And what was the other one I said? Oh, the testing one. Let's see. I don't know if I called it testing. What phrase did I use when I named that one? You guys remember? It might be this one. It might be under calibrating pattern density. No. Well, darn, can't find it. All right, well, it's in there somewhere. I'll find it if you guys need it, but it's basically that one that just tests the square footage area of one versus the other. It's in that series somewhere. But anyway, so if there are no more questions, then we can open up to do that. Remember that you must review, and I would do that now, all of the folders that you currently have for all of your drop files, and make sure that you have a list of everything that you have not turned in so far, because I'm going to need it. It's very, very important that you get me whatever you have. All right, no other questions, so let's get to it.